Mr. Kopp, if you could take a seat, please. There in the back, let's lower it down. Ready to start? Let's be respectful for each other. All right, Deanne O'Donnell.
Hi guys. Okay. I want you guys to behave. Just make sure you behave, okay? Trevor, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
You know I am.
Yeah.
We're going to have a 1-minute opening statement.
Gentlemen, just for your understanding of timing, you have a 1-minute opening and a 1-minute closing statement. You'll be allowed 1.5 minutes per each question, and rebuttals are 30 seconds. Yellow means you have 30 seconds, with the exception of rebuttals. Any questions?
Maybe.
Very good. You can ask them as we go along, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Ian.
Okay. We're going to start with your 1-minute opening statement. John will begin. Who goes first, John?
Commissioner Jabbour.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome, and thank you for coming. So, a few years ago, I was running a campaign. Before I was on the campaign, I called my father, and I told him that there was an opening because the seat was expired, termed out for Lorinda Wickman. And he said, "So, do you want to be a politician?" He said, "There's a man walking down the street in jeans, and he saw another guy across the other way in a suit, and he ran up to him, and he pulled out a knife and said, 'Give me all your money.' The guy in the suit said, 'You can't hold me up. I'm a politician, high-powered politician.' And the man said, 'Well, then give me all my money back.'" So my father said to me, "Don't be either one of those guys." And I said, "Dad, I'm not, and that's why I'm running."
I didn't write a joke into my notes. Thank you to the hosts of this event, the Nye County Republicans, Front Valley Times, the TV stations. In particular, I want to thank the moderators. That can be an unpleasant job. Closer, in the way of a self-introduction, I'm a Navy vet. I'm retired from industry, mining and radioactive waste both. I'll be 69 later this year. I've lived in rural Nevada since '88. I've lived in Amargosa Valley since '93. I own a double wide. I have a well and septic. I'm termed out on the Amargosa Town Board. I did 15 years as a volunteer ambulance attendant over in Amargosa Valley. I've been volunteer fire since '88. I've been attending town meetings in Amargosa for almost 30 years.
Thank you, Mr. Dolby. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, guys. That's a very unique opening there, Jabbour. You even got your opponent here laughing. All right, so normally I ask what qualifies you for the position of commissioner here in Nye County. I know that Mr. Dolby, you spoke a little bit about your experience there. Can you guys go into a little bit more experience about your political life?
Commissioner Jabbour.
Thank you. And by the way, you notice that I'm sitting on the right. So my background is hospitality gaming for most of my life and career. I'm a crisis manager. I was summoned away from Las Vegas after moving to Las Vegas, Nevada in 1988. As you said, you moved to rural 1980. You moved my young family here to Pahrump in 1994 and raised my daughter here in Pahrump. But my expertise is with building relationships. As I said, I'm a crisis manager, and I'm able to, and I've proven, to pull properties out of the red of many years, turning it into the black. And you notice black, I mentioned, I have gray hair now, and that's why. Is that good?
Thank you. Can you talk about some of your professional background or experience which qualifies you to run for a Nye County Commissioner? We're talking a little bit about politics and what kind of political experience you have.
Small town politics is like no place else. But one thing I'm proud of over my years on the Amargosa Town Board is when you find yourself sharing a dinner table with somebody on the board, attending a barbecue or a wedding, or even seeing a church, there's no place for animosity. And I believe to a large extent we treated one another with respect. We only got down on each other over issues of open meeting law and procedure, and that's how government stays efficient. Follow the rules, respect your interlocutor, your fellow board member.
Does anybody have any rebuttals? Do you have a good joke?
No, not this time. So, Mr. Trevor Dolby, I work with as the commissioner for District 1, and Amargosa is part of District 1. And he is on the board, and I'm certain that they're sorry to lose him, but we have shown each other the utmost respect in and at those meetings, working together and trying to resolve some major issues for the town. And I'm actually happy to not be running unopposed, and that Trevor is in the race. Thank you.
Do you have a rebuttal? Like you're not happy that he's in the race?
Sort of, just not details, but he's absolutely right. A year ago this month, the town of Amargosa was in deep trouble, and Commissioner Jabbour and Commissioner Carvone stepped in. I don't know what they did, made some phone calls, and broke loose whatever was not working. And so I owe him.
All right, we can see that you guys are going to be really behaved. All right, we'll go to the next question. Can you talk about some of your goals for the office of Nye County Commission?
Mr. Dolby.
I'm inclined to go to the buzzwords that we've already heard. Transparency, considered growth, considered by all of the constituents, respect for one another as citizens and as board members. I'm not going to use the C word.
Oh, good.
I don't know. I only know pretty much what I read in the newspaper about Nye County governments and what I can decipher sitting in the audience at a BOCC meeting, and that's kind of limited.
You scared me with the buzzwords and the other ones. Mr. Jabbour.
Thank you. So, goals for Nye County Commissioners. I've been asked, so what are your goals? What are you doing? What have you done? My goals are your goals. I hear from you. I have the largest territory, District 1 in the United States, 18,000, and after we did the redistricting, I'm sorry, Chair Calroni, we took some land away from District 2. I hear from the constituents, not just in District 1, but all throughout Nye County, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the only time that I ask them what district that they're in is so I'm not stepping over the respective commissioner. And then I ask them, does this particular commissioner know about this situation? And if they do, I'll be happy to talk to them and work with them. And if they're not available, I will jump in and take over. I'll take the bull by the horns and I'll help them, any constituent. So those are my goals, and it's proven because that's what I've been doing. Thank you.
Is there any rebuttals?
Not a rebuttal, but an agreement. he made a very important point that as District 1 Commissioner, yes, we have some geography we're supposed to represent, but as a voter...
Mr. Dolby, respectfully, this is a rebuttal period, not an extension of your time.
Nope, okay.
Thank you.
We'll just set it down.
See, I knew there was going to be some fighting somewhere. All right. What do you think the biggest issue that's facing Nye County, that is facing Nye County right now?
Mr. Dolby.
I better hear that one again.
What's the biggest issue facing Nye County right now?
Yeah, you've already heard some of this. Considered growth and management of the water table. Yes, we need infrastructure. Yes, we need planning, otherwise you end up with a mess. But the whole constituency, all voters should be consulted when a new development is considered. As Linda said, there are many, many developments that are already permitted. So I think I said it. Management of the water table and plan.
Mr. Jabbour? Go ahead.
Thank you. I believe in growth, but I believe we should control the growth here in Nye County and not allow the growth to control us. It's exactly what I said the last time, and then I was quoted in the newspaper, oh my gosh, she wants growth, he's going to choke us out, we're not going to be able to breathe. It's not what I said. We need to control the growth. And the water issue, absolutely. Water awareness. We need to go back to basics of teaching our children not to let the water run while they're brushing their teeth, and to maybe take a quicker shower and not water the grounds and the landscaping so long, so they know, because this is why we're here. We're trying to leave Pahrump, Nye County, a better place, make it a better place, keep it a better place for you, for the elder folks, and also for the children.
Is there any rebuttals?
Thank you.
Is there any rebuttals? All right, well, we'll expand on that idea, talking about growth and the drought crisis a little bit. Do you guys have any specific plans on growth or the drought, and what would you like to see happen as far as that specifically?
Commissioner Jabbour.
Thank you. About 3 months ago, we had a presentation at the BOCC. There were 3 doctors, scientists, physicists. They presented a beautiful, beautiful project to us right here in Pahrump. Absolutely necessary. However, I asked them to go back to the drawing board because part of their beautiful artist rendition had all these over 150 trees, lush landscaping, even had a lake. I said, we do not have the water here in Pahrump to support your project, but we do support your project in theory once you open. But go to a desert landscaping. These are simple facts, these are basics. The basic strategy that we need to get back to and make everybody aware to be careful, very careful with the water. If we don't have water, we don't live. If we don't have water, we can't eat from the food that the farmers are providing us, and the cattle or the animals, the livestock that we're eating. So we need that water, and it's imperative that we really watch what we're doing, and we are. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
Maybe it's a good thing, but I'm afraid of the two of us sounding way too much alike. Yes, we have a problem in Nye County with outsiders and outside money coming in and presenting these grandiose plans of how Pahrump Valley and the county of Kenai should grow. And a lot of it is unrealistic, especially from the standpoint of water resources. My focus is a little bit further north, and my background is in resources. We have cows in Amherst Valley. Those are not natural resources, but I've worked in mining, gold, I've worked in lithium. Those are not big dollar items for the county. The county doesn't get a lot of money from that. In particular, the Nevada Constitution prohibits direct tax of mining revenue. So it's tough for the county to get in there. But yes, we need to be more carefully consider the plans that are brought to us from outside the county.
Are there any rebuttals? All right, let's talk about the solar farms throughout the county and, of course, the BOCC's decision on the switching station here in front. And what I mean by the switching station is that the solar farms have to be in close proximity to that switching station. And so, what's your thoughts on the solar farms and the proposals throughout the county?
Commissioner Jabbour.
Thank you. Of course, Mr. Dolby said that we are so much alike in a lot of things we're saying, but we certainly don't dress alike. So with the solar issue, again, most recently, a group came to us here in Pahrump. Many of you were there. Many of you spoke out. Some were silent, but we got the message, loud and clear. And I also spoke out to the group, thanking them for thinking of us here in Nye County, in Pahrump. However, being so close to schools, to communities, to the people, to churches, it's definitely going to change the ecosystem. We don't have the water, once again. Oh yes, they'll say that they only need limited amount of water. It's not true. With the dust and dirt that blows around here in Pahrump, those panels have to be cleaned twice, sometimes 3 times a day. The life expectancy is 20, 25 years for those panels. When they leave, they abandon those panels, and we're left to clean up the mess. So we heard you loud and clear, and we asked them to think of somewhere else. Despite the switching stations being a most convenient and ergonomic area for them, but not for us. Thank you.
Mr. Dolby?
I'll try to make my answer sound a little bit different from Commissioner Jabbour's. I attended, I think, 3 Beatty Town meetings where there were people ranting. I've gleaned a lot from the newspaper after the trouble that Rough Hat Project had. It was absolutely confounding that the next developer would come and propose something within the Pahrump Valley Planning District. In northern Nye County, as Commissioner Blundo said, we have lots of vacant land. During the first Obama administration, there were no fewer than 3 targeted land sites on BLM land within Amargosa Valley, but then they all 3 fell through. We have a solar plant in Amargosa Valley. It went through the permitting process. The planning office consulted the town of Amargosa. It's on private land. The governor's office and the federal administration is proposing a high voltage corridor through Amargosa Valley. It roughly follows US 95, and they want to put a switching station on BLM land out there where nobody lives, within 20 miles.
Is there any rebuttals? No? All right. What are some of the things that you would like to see in our county that would improve our community, our way of life for our residents, families, and children?
Mr. Dolby.
In my valley, we hear a lot about accidents. They just have to refer a lot to the hospitals. When you say families and children, everybody wants good schools. That's outside the jurisdiction of town government, county government. Everybody wants good schools, so we as commissioners would get behind that. And for quality of life, local parks, intramural sports, that's always attractive to the children. And I suppose the elected politicians being seen at these public events and being seen supporting what the community comes out for, whether it's a race or a basketball game.
Mr. Jabbour.
Thank you. So we have some facilities here for our community members. We need more. At one of the most recent BOCC meetings, we addressed staff to look into Valley Electric, as some of the tax dollars, some of the monies in the coffers have been put aside into Valley Electric. We're trying to set up a meeting. And why? The only thing for the children right now is a bowling center up at the Nugget, walking through a casino. We used to have the skate zone. We talk about the children. And yes, the medical facilities absolutely are important, but we are just a stone's throw away from Las Vegas, where we have the specialists there. Not to inconvenience anybody. But we talk about our children, our children, our children. Well, let's prove it. We keep talking about we're going to take care of our children, and I think it starts with our children, and it continues. It's perpetual. And it doesn't end with us, it keeps going. So we need to help our children. The schools, absolutely. They come for help, we give them help. But we have absolutely no authority with the school district. But we do the best that we can to support them. Thank you.
Are there any rebuttals?
I should point out that over in Amargosa, the community building is shared between the school and the town. So, and a lot of that is done just on a handshake. So, yeah, it works.
All right. Is there any rebuttals? Concerning the Nye County budget, what are some of the things that you would like to cut from the budget or see added to the budget?
Commissioner DeBoer.
Thank you. Well, we just had a budget meeting a week and a half ago. And if any of you were watching or listening, it was presentation only at one point. But all 5 of us commissioners, I believe, did a fantastic job in trying to manipulate and navigate through the budget, making you aware of the monies that we have to spend, which we don't have money to spend. Everybody thinks we have deep pockets. It will come back before us before the end of the fiscal year, so we can solidify the wants and the needs and requests of the different departments and elected officials. So at this time, again, we have to be very, very cognizant and aware and very careful with the county's money, your money, my money. My job is only to be a good steward. I'm asking you to be the good steward, to continue to be the good steward, to watch over your money, to make sure that we're safe. Thank you.
Mr. Dolby?
That's a dangerous question in as far as if I were to name any department or service that I thought needed cut back, those are folks going out the door. Okay. Once again, DeBoer is correct, but I could add that the BOCC can provide guidance. Their place is to form policy, but the county manager is in the best position to see where the budget can be fiddled with, and as Jabbour pointed out, the constraints. Okay? Yes, we all love government services until we have to pay for it.
Is there any rebuttal?
No rebuttal.
Okay. How transparent would you be with the public and the media when it comes to your job?
Mr. Dolby.
I love that one. When I was in the private sector, we had nothing to do with the press or the media. But since I entered public life as a town board member, and as I follow the Nye County government in the newspaper, I love it. I think transparency is great. I'm sorry that we lost our treasurer because he was a great one for transparency. I wish we had 2, even 3 newspapers in this town because there was a lot more fun back then. So I think that's an adequate answer. Transparency is necessary, and transparency is great.
Mr. Jabbour?
Thank you. So transparency, as soon as I took my seat, I had to be very, very transparent. And I'm okay with that. Because one of the people up here on the stage earlier said, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to hide. What a concept. So I'm okay with anybody reaching out. People call me all the time. I'm not sure why they think it's okay to call me at 10 or 11 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Sorry.
But they do. But I am as transparent as you want me to be. You can look me up. You can come and see me. I'll tell you all about me. I have funny stories, okay? But there's also serious business when it comes to the county. I'll only have, I see it. I only have one disagreement so far. And the former treasurer was not transparent. I disagree. He was not transparent because we were not getting accurate numbers. We were not getting accurate information. This is information that the people needed, that we needed. It was imperative that we got that accurate information in order to make decisions.
Is there any rebuttals? Does John Production? All right. Okay.
Could you hold on a few seconds? Maybe he can get on the line.
All right, let's go to the next question. Recently, the BOCC voted for the annual cost to run the Nye County shelter here in Pahrump. The price for the county to run the facility is significantly, can't say it, it's cost higher than first projected. That does not include the loan payment for the facility itself. Do you think that this should have been discussed with the tax-paying public before they made the decision to remove the facility from a nonprofit who could have received grants for that facility? Why or why not?
Commissioner Jabbour.
Thank you. This was a question posed with the last panel, and I had to get up and excuse myself, so I'm glad I did. So you'll hear something different from me. Animals, the animal shelter is very, very important to us as the commission, to you as the people, as the county. We committed to putting a beautiful facility together, and it doesn't stop with an animal shelter. Yes, the numbers didn't look right during the presentation, the initial presentation. Those were numbers, those were projections that we used from the current organization running the shelter. That's how we got those numbers and projections. And that's what you do when you're in business, is you project to give you a guideline and a base. And so I'm confident that the county will be able to run this animal shelter. And with any new business, because it's a larger business, we may run a little short, but we know if there's mistakes, we know how to correct them and move forward.
Mr. Dolby?
My answer will probably be a bit shorter. Again, what I know about the animal shelter is what I would learn reading the newspaper and attending BOCC meetings. Someone had a lot of courage to grab a hold of that issue because they knew that not everybody was going to be happy with the outcome. And I commend whoever it was that grabbed a hold of that issue and pushed through. We got to have some kind of shelter. We got to deal with this problem. And how a construction project is managed by the county doesn't land on the BOCC's desk.
Is there any rebuttals? What are your thoughts on special interest groups donating to a candidate's campaign that have items up for vote on the BOCC agenda?
Commissioner Jabbour.
I can't believe this question, but I'll answer it anyway. Just recently, we were at the Lincoln Day dinner, and I was approached by somebody in attendance, of course. He introduced himself to me, and he said, Commissioner Jabbour, I understand that you don't accept anybody's contributions. I said, that is correct. But I graciously thank anybody that offers. You can help somebody else with that. I take care of my own campaign. I don't have my hand up, and I'm not criticizing anybody that is a candidate that seeks contributions. I have expenses like everybody else. He said to me, well, then I'm of no use to my special interest group. Do you know what he meant by that? Because I certainly knew what he meant by that. And I smiled and shook his hand and thanked him for introducing himself to me. And I walked away, and I was very happy that that happened, because I know that I'm doing the right thing for me. So I'm not interested in the special interest groups. If it makes sense, it's an agendized item. I'm going to vote in the affirmative if it makes sense, and it makes sense for you. And if it doesn't make sense, the vote is no. It's pretty simple. Thank you.
Help me out. Yeah, no, the audience was really quiet on that one.
I know, so they want to hear your
were
answers.
anxious to hear those answers. And before I launch into this, let me hear that question again.
All right. What's your thoughts on special interest groups donating to a candidate's campaign that have items up for vote on the BOCC agenda?
Thank you. Again, my answer is going to sound a lot like Commissioner Jabbour's. Commissioners, this is representative government, and we are to represent the people, not the special interests. And what he said is absolutely right. If there is a conflict or even a special interest, we're to look for where the people's advantage is, where the people's benefit is. I'm like Commissioner Jabbour in as far as that's my money. Don't take my yard sign. I only bought 30 of them, and they're like $13 a piece. I'm bearing my own expenses too, and if anybody offers me help, I don't want it.
Is there any rebuttals?
I'd like to know where you paid $13 for the sign up. I need some more.
I'd like to know if you used my daughter's sign company. That's what I want. All right. We're going to talk about the CARES Act funding, because we had a lot of people who were saying that they weren't receiving some help from the payment protection program and some of the funding. Do you think that the CARES Act funding was used properly here in Knight County and made a positive impact to local businesses? How do you think it could have been more available to everyone?
Mr. Dolby.
Yes, of course, it could have been managed better. And yes, it's fairly obvious that local government would be asked by the state and by the feds to judge or weigh the qualifications and the need for these care package, whatever, any of these subsidies. And I wouldn't want to be the one that had to choose between applicants, but it landed in the county's lap. The county was asked to help with those judgments. God help them. It's messy business.
Mr. Jabbour?
Thank you. So the CARES Act funding, it was new. It was new to every county. And we had an absolutely fantastic county employee, Sam Kramer, who facilitated the CARES Act funding applications. One of the first things that we said at the BOCC meeting was, make sure that this is advertised, make sure it gets out to the public, that everybody has an opportunity to apply. Because we had the money, we had the resources, we wanted to help them. We did help them. I got a phone call personally, a man saying to me, hey, thanks for helping me, letting me know when it was available, but I went on my anniversary with my wife and I forgot to submit the application. That was the problem. I said, well, tell your wife happy anniversary, but it's too late. That was the problem. People got the application, they sat on it, it was managed correctly, and we helped as many people as we were able to help, businesses, okay? And I cannot address the other issue, but money ran out. It absolutely ran out. But we did and helped as many people as possible.
Is there any rebuttals? We're going to stay along that line and talk about the ARPA funding that was just voted on. Recently, the BOCC voted to limit the premium pay from the federal grant program funded for those who worked during the height of COVID as essential workers, even though they may have took on additional jobs for others who were not working. How would you have handled this vote? And I'm sure, Bruce, you did. And how would you distribute the money allotted for these workers?
Mr. Dolby.
That's kind of a messy question and a messy issue, and I wouldn't want that job, and I kind of don't want that question.
I'm sorry. I was.
Okay, so I'll yield to them.
Oh, no. Gosh, I should ask that question on our last debate, then I did. All right. Okay, there's no comment on the ARPA funding. Okay. Let's go to this one. Hope you guys answer. How would you be influenced in your voting and opinion by the general public that regularly attends the BOCC meetings?
Commissioner DeBoer.
And I apologize, Deanna. Could you repeat that, please?
How are you influenced in your voting and your opinion by the general public that regularly attends the BOCC meetings?
That's a great question. Because it was brought up And I've been watching, of course, you know I'm up in Tonopah, and I've been watching on the live stream, and it was brought up that before we even get to the BOCC meeting, all 5 of us had spoken together and we already know the vote. That's incorrect. We are only allowed to speak to one other commissioner. And if another commissioner, a third commissioner happens to call one of us two that have spoken, we must stop them immediately and inform them that we have already discussed this. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. But that's an OML, open meeting law violation, and we could be sanctioned and deep mess for that, right? So, with the general public that attends the meetings, they watch, they listen, they phone in, they call us prior to the meeting as soon as they see the agenda that's been published. There's backup in writing, and sometimes, yes, I know the direction that I think and I've heard from my constituents that we want to go in, but there's always new information, there's always new evidence that surfaces at the meetings, on the phone, and that sometimes influences us, and sometimes not.
Mr. Dolby?
The key is accessibility, and Commissioner Jabbour already touched on that. The people who attend the BOCC meetings frequently are the most vocal. They're the ones that don't have a job that they have to be at. And where the accessibility comes from is not just that everybody has our email address and everybody has our phone number, but also our presence in the public eye. I'm talking baseball games, committee meetings, funerals, just out there, and it's awkward sometimes that a constituent wants to buttonhole us on some issue, and there's a meeting going on, but we have to live with that.
Is there any rebuttals?
Yes, just one quick rebuttal. Mr. Dolby mentioned funerals, and I'm here to tell you that nobody's allowed to pass before the primary.
Duly noted.
Especially not one of us.
All right. Besides Walmart and Smith's, how would you reach out to your constituents who cannot attend the meetings to hear their voice?
Commissioner Jabbour, go ahead before someone passes.
No, I won't pass on this.
We had 2 commissioners. One said Smith's, the other one said Walmart.
Can you repeat that, please, Deanna?
Besides Walmart and Smith's, how would you reach out to your constituents who cannot attend the meetings to hear their voice?
Well, social media is a great tool most of the time. It could also be dangerous, so we have to be careful. There's Home Depot.
Okay.
There's Albertsons. Okay. There's other restaurants. I mean, we cannot be exclusive by just mentioning 2 of those properties that are here in town. We want to support all of them. So you could put it in the newspaper. Of course, that could get costly. And again, it's the taxpayers' monies. It's the taxpayers' monies. So somebody threw me off. They were telling me the camera's running out of film, I think. Yeah.
That's good.
So again, emails, texts, people call, they're very well informed. And if they're not informed, they call to question because they want the answer. The best answer that we can give. And we do apologize that the meeting starts at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday typically. And we know that many of you work and you're not able to attend. But you can always go back to the link and find things out and watch and observe and then ask, because we don't always take a vote. Sometimes we table and continue things.
Mr. Dolby?
This is a lot like the previous question, and the answer is access. Part of our job is to be out there in the public where people can just rub shoulders with us, interrupt us, ask us questions, ask us our views. Frequently, it's ask us what we know about a situation, because almost certainly the whole story isn't out there. So, access to our constituents, attending meetings, committees, parades, picnics, all of that.
All right, we're going to have one more question, and we're going to combine a couple of them. How important is for you to support items that another county commissioner is sponsoring? And would you speak up against a fellow commissioner regarding an agenda item, even if it may cause friction between you?
Commissioner Jabbour.
You shuffling those cards?
There's two.
There's two, but he just keeps picking me as number, but that's okay. So I know that you know that I'm very quiet and soft-spoken and reserved, but there is another side to me that if I disagree with, unfortunately, a fellow commissioner, I let them know, I talk with them, and we have a very respectful, for the most part, conversation as to the why. If you come to the meetings, you hear me mention the why. I want to know the why, I give you the why. I want to know clarification, I give clarification. And I want clarification. And that's exactly what I say. It's pretty easy. I know it's not easy to get in a conflict with a fellow commissioner, because we are colleagues and we're trying to work together to make the county great, keep it nice, keep it respectful, move it forward, keep it flowing, all of those great things and positive attributes, right, that we need to do. I see you again. But we can't always agree. They're not always going to agree with me, and I'm okay with it. I learned a long time ago. If they disagree, we shake it off and we move on, because we have a lot of things to take care of, a lot of county business to take care of. I have to get past that personal, and I do.
Mr. Dolby?
Yeah, this guy John's on my side. You're handling the cards, right? And when Jabbour gets the first question, gets to answer the question first, then I just nibble around the edges and what he missed. Anyway, to the question though, I've of course had to deal with this on the town board level, and for a while I was accused of always voting with this guy over here on my left, until I didn't. And it's a matter of respect among colleagues on the board. He can tell me I'm wrong, and that doesn't hurt my feelings. Another point I can make though is when you discuss an issue with a fellow board member, you've just shut out the other three. You cannot discuss that same issue if it's going to come up on the agenda. You can't discuss that same issue with those people. So what you end up doing is picking issues and board members and working it out one-on-one and kind of excluding the other three on that issue prior to the meeting, okay? Once you're at the meeting and they call for a vote, you're all on your own.
All right, is there any rebuttals?
Sure.
Go.
Mr. Dolby mentioned he disagreed with the guy on his left because he was on your left. He was on the left.
Yeah.
He's on the left and continues to be on the left. We're on the right. Thank you.
All right, we're going to have a 1-minute closing statement.
In an effort to seem fair, Mr. Dolby.
It says effort.
All right. this debate, I'm sorry, is probably a whole lot less fun than District 4 and less fun for you guys. But I anticipated that, both of us anticipated that politics should be clean and respectful. And I feel like I should touch on my motivation on sitting up here. I waited and watched the county recorder's website for Commissioner Jabbour to sign up, and I watched, and then I signed up. I didn't feel like I should let him have a free ride and run unopposed, and I think he's good with that. My experiences in town government, county government is a lot different. You as voters choose who you like to represent you on the BOCC.
I'm surprised there were no questions from the audience.
Well, there was, and I
There
couldn't
were.
get to all of the
Okay.
questions. I had a lot that were duplicating what I
They
was
were
saying.
duplicating.
But
Okay.
this one was saying, how come you guys didn't dress alike today?
I wanted to, but I thought I'd be different.
And I think these people are here to hear about District 36.
Yeah.
Okay. So, although we called this a debate, it's really not a debate, because we didn't debate each other. We didn't have any personal attacks on each other. We were absolutely respectful. This is the way it should be, and it was. And I appreciate all of you that have remained to listen, whether you wanted to hear my corny jokes or not. I was going to give them to you. The last campaign, we had something similar, but because of COVID, it was via Zoom. And I said, and I'll say it again, I found a newfound respect for this process and Mr. Trevor Dolby. Of course, I'll wait for the primary, as he will. I think that I'm going to be the next elected commissioner, not re-elected, but elected commissioner. But if it's Trevor Dolby, I pledge my support regardless. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'm getting a little teared up over here. Sorry.
All right, thank you very much. Enjoyed it. Your jokes are getting stale. You got to work on them. All right.
I think we should ask the people.
You don't want to know. All right. Take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll start with Assembly 36.